Now it's time for the real roundtable, the open debate round, which carries on for 2.5 hours non-stop here on Times Now up to 10:30 p.m. With me is Navika Kumar. Exciting. I think this is going to be interesting, Navika.
Absolutely. And how many devils in the detail have we found so far? And how we can make Manish Tiwari, Information and Broadcasting Minister, answer all of those questions.
Let's try our best.
That's going to be the big
Okay, let's welcome our panel in very quickly. With me, of course, I'm delighted to have Lord Meghnad Desai and Omkar Goswami, top economists and our esteemed panelists with us. To their left is Dinesh Trivedi, former Union Minister, Member of Parliament of the Lok Sabha. To his left is Mr. D. Raja, a Member of Parliament of the Rajya Sabha, Communist Party of India, Chairman of Hero. Sunil Kant Munjal is with us as well. Sandwiched between the politicians, to his left is Information and Broadcasting Minister Manish Tiwari, and to Manish Tiwari's left is Piyush Goyal, Member of Parliament and National Treasurer of the BJP. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's begin. The numbers you gave today, first, Omkar and Meghnad. You gave 6.5 and you gave 7. No, was it you 6.5 and you 7?
I gave 6.5.
Could you explain why before we open our debate? Would you like to start, Lord Desai?
Yeah, well, you see, given that he had a number of conflicting concerns to balance, growth versus inflation, he didn't have enough money, he had a deficit problem, he had to worry about the rating agencies and all that, plus the compulsion of an oncoming election. How was Chidambaram going to manage to balance all those concerns? I think what he's done the best possible budget he can, given the constraints.
Given the constraints, okay.
And let me say one. He has done nothing which will cause problems in the next 12 months to the government.
And he was slightly more cynical than you. Or slightly more optimistic, actually.
No. So I did give 7 out of 10.
Yes.
The reason is nobody from any political party this year would have liked to be the finance minister, given the state of the economy, not just as it is this year, as it has been over the last 3 years. Right? It's a terrible, terrible job to be a finance minister this year.
Understood.
Given the constraints that he has, as Meghnad said, you could do one of two things. You could pretend that there were no constraints and say, hey, I'm Tarzan, okay? Now, some people would take that up as a great, great thing, right?
He didn't do that.
He didn't. He understood what are the constraints. He didn't overpromise. I'm always in favor of someone who underpromises and probably overdelivers than a guy, particularly as we can see many times in India, overpromising and underdelivering. So PC, the good thing about PC is he's grown up now.
Okay.
He understands the reality.
Oh, all right. So now let's get the opposition in very quickly, and then we'll get the Treasury benches to respond. Give it to them, Piyush. Give it to them, Mr. Raja and Mr. Trivedi. Here is a political party and a government 1 year before the election, and Piyush, don't look at me like that. I know what you're about to say.
Piyush has
I'll bet neither for you nor for the government. But here's a serious argument. Here's a serious argument. A government says 1 year before an election, we don't want to be populist. We'll send a pragmatic message. We're not going to try win vote banks or make people happy. Dinesh Trivedi, give it to them.
No, I'm quite surprised when you say, given the circumstances. Now, for heaven's sake, UPA is in power for last 8-9 years. What circumstances? It means the government has created those circumstances. And please understand, let me finish. You see, it's like this, that we talk about, oh, it's external, the world is melting and the Himalayas are also melting. Nothing of that sort affects India. I'll tell you why.
Of course it does.
I'll tell you why. Because 85% of your entire consumption is all internal. Your economy is not dependent on export like China, for instance. You have a huge consumption pattern. If that was true, 2009, 2010 also.
That was not my question.
I'll tell you 2009.
My question
I'm
was
coming to you. 2009, 2010. Also there was a meltdown, but we did very well.
I understand, but
all I'm trying to tell you is, I would have expected that you do a huge kind of investment in two basic things which India needs very badly, which is education and health. I'm afraid Nothing
and
at all.
where's the money for that going to come from?
Money, I'll tell you.
We'll go into details. We'll go into details. We'll go into details. Piyush,
broadly,
on bucking populism.
Broadly, he's not bucked populism. What did he do to address the fiscal deficit? He cut down capital expenditure. He's spent more on non-plan expenditure. That's not the way you're going to solve the problems of the country. So fiscal deficit being cut is a mirage created by cutting investments, which is going to damage the economy in the
I am not talking fiscal deficit.
As regards populism,
why are both of you avoiding my question?
He's done nothing for agriculture. It's not a question of populism, it's a question of 60% of the people of this country. What has it given them? Food grain production, which fell from 259 million tons to 250. He didn't acknowledge that. He said it was 3.6% growth last year. Didn't say it's 5% less in the current year. He didn't tell us anything about energy security. One para on oil and gas, coal and power. And what does he do? In oil and gas, promises, we'll review this and we'll review that. In coal, price pooling. Pullak strategy was to do it 13 months ago. What's happened to that committee? It's all about implementation.
I like the way Manish Tiwari is firmly looking away from Piyush Goyal. Do you want the full barrage to end first before you respond?
No, I think it's important if we take all the views on board and then I'll...
He can handle everybody at one shot. But really, the infrastructure, power, roads, those were the issues where implementation is in this country.
Just before you gentlemen came in, Kapil Sibal was here. He said the big story is that we buck populism. We are going to be honest with the people. If we try to be populist, you'll say we are populist. We are trying to be pragmatic, and there goes the left.
Then just read this implementation of budget proposals 12-13.
I'll go into detail.
It tells you how the honesty shows complete inefficiency.
We have a full hour, Mr. D. Raja. They are going to also carry out disinvestment, which is causing great concern. Do you have another alternative way of raising money for the government?
Despite the budget, which is not hopeful for the growth of economy and for the growth of the country, there is hope in the country. The left won the Tripura elections, left resigned Tripura, and left has fared well in 3 by-elections in West Bengal, winning 1 seat. So there is a hope. People look for some alternative. They have an alternative.
I'm happy for you, sir.
Yes?
I'm very happy for you.
Sir, thank you.
You need some happiness little late in the day.
No, people are matured enough.
Yeah.
No party can take people for granted. No finance minister can woodwink people by announcing certain things here and there. But having said that, why people are discussing? To be a finance minister in the given situation is terrible. That's what he was saying. Who has brought this situation? Who has brought this hopeless situation in the country? Who has brought our economy to such a bad shape? And somebody should be held responsible. I think the Congress-led UPA too should be held responsible for such a hopeless situation, for such a bad economy today. Having said that, I must comment upon the budget. The budget talked about reducing fiscal deficit. What about the revenue foregone? Let the finance minister tell the nation, but it is there in print. Revenue foregone for 2011-12, revenue foregone, projected foregone for 2012-13. Corporate income tax 2011-12, revenue foregone 61,700.
You're getting a rebut from Omkar.
No, it is there.
Since you're going into numbers and avoiding let him.
No, please. It is
understand print, Mr.
What I have been saying.
Revenue foregone means no growth, same as this year. This is the revenue foregone. Please understand what it means.
No. There is other meaning also.
No, there's no other meaning. Even Piyush will tell you that no other meaning. He's laughing. He knows what I'm saying is right.
Don't bring Piyush in support of you.
He may not be in your party, but revenue foregone has only one meaning.
For that matter, I don't find much difference between BJP and Congress and economic policies. What I am trying to say, the finance minister has miserably failed in addressing the primary issue of revenue mobilization, resource mobilization in this country. And even if you look at the expenditure side, the expenditure
increase that has been announced. Mr. Raja, I asked a very simple question, and everybody Nobody is answering a simple
What
question.
is that simple question you are asking?
My very simple question, and it is not got to do with left getting 50 out of 60 seats in Tripura.
No,
My very simple
fact,
question.
whether you acknowledge it or not.
My very simple
fact, and people are there to support left.
My very simple question today is this: that the government says we are being honest. It's time to be honest with the people. My question is, let me put it to Rajiv Chandrasekhar. Are they being honest overnight,
no.
or is it driven out of a morbid fear of India bonds being declared as junk bonds by external credit rating agencies? Is it a newfound honestness? That's what I was driving at. Okay. Or is it a situation they have been compelled to deal with?
So Arnab, I've come in late into this. I'm catching the tail end of this debate. So beginning.
It's just starting.
So
it just started.
Okay, sorry. So let me say this. Let's be very clear. I don't think this is about openness and honesty as much as lack of options. I think the government really, frankly, had very little flexibility. Even if they wanted to be populist, they couldn't have been populist without busting the bank. Point number one. I just want to make the point, and I think it's important that we realize this, that we have seen over the last few months the sharpest slide in the GDP ever since I can recall. I mean, I have never seen the economy go from 9% to 4.5% in the sharpest free fall. And it is for the first time that the Economic Survey of the Government of India actually accepts that the reasons for this slide has been almost, they haven't said it in so many words, but a flawed stimulus package and a stimulus strategy in 2008.
Absolutely right.
So,
right. Absolutely.
Populism did exist at some point in the past. We are paying essentially the price of that populism today. I don't think the government had very many options. I think the FM really had very few cards to play with, and he's played the best game that he could.
So don't make a virtue out of a necessity is the argument. Mr. Munjal, let's get Mr. Munjal.
There's been an artificial bubble.
Mr. Munjal, are we celebrating this budget as India Inc. has because Mr. Chidambaram hasn't done anything very badly negative? He's stayed the middle path, he's stayed the path of prudence, hasn't experimented too much. Is that why we're giving him the thumbs up? Or do you really think that it is going to actually spur growth once again?
There are two different aspects to your question. It's not a simple one to answer, but I will try and address at least two aspects, if not three.
Sure.
One is under the circumstances, and I'm repeating that, the point everybody made, and it's not only domestic, it is a global situation. There is a massive slowdown across the globe.